What up, Marsh Pod? Today we're talking H-Town, Bay Area, big statement game, maybe? Maybe not? We don't know. Could be. We'll check in on Beasts of the East. They're 2 games into what I called the toughest stretch anyone plays this season. We'll see how that's going. And 2 teams I would not want to see in the playoffs that are not a top team. And of course, may the 4th be with you. Okay, we are recording this Thursday morning, May 4th. All games from yesterday in the books. A entertaining day, to say the least. We don't even have time today to talk about what is probably the best game in SimWorld Hoops history. Run DMV losing in double overtime in an exciting one to Best Coast Ballers. No, we're talking H-Town versus Bay Area. That was our second game of the doubleheader last night on SimWorld TV. I think this game, here, I'm going to get to the point first before I drag you through it. The point is, I don't know that we learned a lot of new things from this game. Now we're going to go back and tell you why. Bay Area, first 5 possessions, gave up 5 straight open corner looks. I'm not going to call it a 3 because half these dudes haven't figured out that the 3-point line is a little bit further back. First 5 possessions wide open. Then, on the following 2 possessions, transition baskets after Bay Area had scored. So, immediately, H-Town sets the pace with this game, getting to the shots that they want, and just not being able to get back in transition. And because of that, I think this game was flipped by that lack of transition in a couple different aspects. Bay Area looked really bothered by the Hoopers' defense, especially inside. On multiple occasions throughout this game, they had what looked like an open look, only for them to either, Trey Hyman to not go up aggressively with a shot. He wasn't the only one. It's just off the top of my head. Somebody sliding over to bother what should be a wide open layup. There was a possession where Caden Ship got a free run to the hoop and then couldn't finish because a defender comes over. Looks like he had an easy layup, instead has to adjust at the last minute. I don't think Bay Area got their first uncontested look until 6 minutes left in the second quarter, and they were already down by 10. That's what we know about Houston, right? H-Town wants to play a muck it up, you're not going to get anything easy type of basketball game. But today last night, they did a great job of defending without fouling. They held a 15-2 free throw advantage. And that's not because you look at the box score and you say, well, Bay Area's got to be more aggressive. They don't need to. Bay Area was exceptionally aggressive. I think there were some calls that didn't go Bay Area's way. That's kind of, the home court whistle was in effect in some instances. But for the most part, the Hoopers did a phenomenal job of defending without fouling. They were vertical in the paint. They held their ground in the paint. They were not slapping down at the ball. They just said, look, we're bigger than you in some instances. Obviously, against somebody like Trey Hyman, you're not. But we're bigger than you. You've just got to score it over top of us. And if you can't do that, we're going to get out and we're going to be able to make the shots that we need to make. I still don't love, Bay Area has done it now, full court press with a guy covering the inbound man. It hasn't looked great, in my opinion, for Bay Area. I think that their most recent kind of inconsistent stretch has come from that, but I get why they're doing it, because their perimeter defense, which was the case today, as evident by those 5 possessions, really hasn't been great. Which is, to that point, I don't know that we learned anything new. H-Town was a great defensive unit, and they locked down one of the most explosive scoring offenses in the league. So that happened. What did we know about Bay Area? We know that they aren't the best defensive team on the perimeter, like I just said. That allows opposing teams to get into the paint and score. That happened last night. H-Town is 3rd in rebounds. Bay Area is outside the top 10, just a little bit. That discrepancy happened last night. So what are we taking away? H-Town is for real, in case we hadn't figured that out. Back at the beginning or the end of last month, power rankings, my personal ones, I said H-Town doesn't have a signature win. They just got one. They just got a signature win. Their fourth best defense, it showed up. And a Bay Area is a team that really relies on turnovers. They want to be an explosive offense. I think they're fourth in scoring as well. They're second in turnovers forced with about 7.3. They forced 3 last night. That allowed H-Town to get into their defensive positioning and force Bay Area to run through their offense. And even when Bay Area was getting into the paint, like we just talked about, they just couldn't get consistently open, uncontested looks. Bay Area has had a tough time finishing games. I've said that. That continues to kind of be a trend. I know that they're working on that. At least they're telling us they are. I believe that they are. I'm not here to doubt them. This is a great part of the season where we start to see those trends, which I've said that before. You start seeing these trends play out. That's kind of the trend for Bay Area. They've played really good against really bad teams, and they've played really good against really good teams. They've also kind of been mediocre against good teams, and this was an example of that. They just didn't look like the team that they've always looked like, and it seems as if when these games get a little tighter, when the adjustments aren't working, I don't know that it's a lack of confidence. I don't think it's a lack of capability by player or coach, but they just haven't looked like themselves in those moments. So the takeaway, if anything, is we got to start believing in H-Town. I mean, spoiler alert for the end of this month, they're going to be higher on my power rankings. Not that it matters, hence the name, but we're just kind of continuing to see these trends. And for Bay Area, if that trend continues to be kind of mediocre in big games, I think it's going to be difficult for us to take them seriously as a championship team. Not because I don't think they can win it, but more so, do we have the faith and full confidence that they can win it like you have in the Originators and in what we should have developing for H-Town. Okay, 2 other things. Quick check-in. Beasts of the East said they had a 8-game stretch. 5 teams that they were playing against were some of the best. That was Showtime OGs to kick things off. They've got APAC and ATL. There's a little lull in this tough stretch before Lone Star, Gulf Coast, H-Town, Southeast. Gulf Coast has been looking really good. That's a 4-game stretch that's going to be dangerous. They're 1-1. I'd say the win over OGs is more eye-opening than the loss to Showtime. Showtime has a propensity to be volcanic. They were against Beasts of the East, but OGs had been rolling, and Beasts answered the bell. So they should be by the time they get that 4-game stretch, they should be 3-1 of this 8-gamer. That's great. They needed that. I would say at this point, anything less than 5-3 is a disappointment. But they started off positively enough. And then 2 teams I don't want to see if I'm a top team in the playoff. I'll start with Run DMV. They blasted Showtime a couple days ago, and then they had the double OT loss to Best Coast Ballers. You want to talk about head-to-head wins? I know Showtime has been talking about, hey, we beat this team, we beat that team. Well, you also got beat up by Run DMV. So does that mean they're better than you? Not everything matters on head-to-head every single time out there. Look, 7-game series are very rarely 4-0. That's all I'll say there. But their last bad loss was to Indy Stripes on April 11th, almost a month ago. Since then, 3-1. 1 loss, like we said, double overtime. This is proof why you got to believe in Myron. He's figuring stuff out. I don't know that they have that one go-to guy that I've talked ad nauseum about wanting to see out of a legitimate contender, but they're putting things together, and give credit to them, because there's also some top teams, H-Town included, that doesn't necessarily have a here's our 18-point per game score, go forth. Run DMV might not have that. They might not need it. Second team, though, it's the team that beat them on April 11th, the Indy Stripes. They haven't put together a dominant stretch like Run DMV is on right now, but I'd still be kind of scared to face them in the first round. Not scared, but I'd rather face somebody else in the first round or at any point in the playoffs, because if you have a bad night, Indy's capable of getting red hot. Now, they lost last night to Bad Boys, and I think that's kind of been their theme of their season. They don't really beat the mid-tier teams. the big teams, the OGs, which obviously that game we're going to get a conclusion to after a exciting, 31 minutes and 38 seconds that we're still waiting on the last 22 seconds to play out. But that's kind of Indy. They sometimes get up for these big games. Last night, big win over Gotham 5 earlier in the season. But they also kind of just don't show up for other big games. Blowout loss to Rocky Mountain, 10-point loss to Beasts of the East. That's kind of how they go. What they need to do to kind of be more solidified in the standings-wise is take care of business of those middle of the pack. Those games last night against Bad Boys, you'd like to see them win. They haven't quite gotten over that hump, but they're still dangerous to the point that I just wouldn't want to see them. Okay. Have a great day watching a bunch of Star Wars. If you're not, we don't need to talk. See you Tuesday.